Well, thank you, Daniel, for spending your time today to share these exciting news about your new book. But before we start, would you be able to start by writing a brief background of yourself?
Absolutely, Dustin. I don't think we'll go back to my very first company, which I started when I was 12 years old. I think we'll move a little further forward. I had a marketing background during my college days and afterwards, and moved from a marketing field, believe it or not, into the banking field because I was recruited by the president of a bank that felt it was easier to take someone with a strong marketing background and teach him banking rather than trying to take a banker and teach him how to sell. So that led me to realize that I needed a more sophisticated, more advanced degree on the banking or financial side. So at night I went back and got my MBA at Pepperdine in finance so that I would be able to really speak more to the language of my clients in the marketplace. But after about 12 to 15 years in banking, I started to look for some other challenges and actually started to teach corporate finance at UCLA. And a couple of years after that decided that banking was moving in a direction that was not consistent with my needs. So I left commercial banking in '96 and started my consulting firm, which really focuses on strategy, finance, and process, because we believe that we can teach ordinary companies how to create and sustain extraordinary results by turning their roadblocks into roadmaps. And that's what we've done in the marketplace for the last 17 years.
Thank you. And my first question is, why another business book?
That's a very good question. It does come up. We actually asked that question of ourselves before we started and kept it going during the entire development process. And the reason for another book, and in this case the book on business, was because we felt that there are too many books in the marketplace that are very narrowly focused, like most of our careers, that may not really serve the vast majority of leaders, managers, supervisors who, although they need to get their job done, they need to accomplish goals, really today need a little more diverse access to information. Not that they have to be an expertise in every area from accounting to the Z-score, but they do need to understand these various areas and use them when appropriate. So that's what led us to craft this particular book to fill that very, very large void in the marketplace.
And I found it interesting that you have 26 chapters with 10 questions each. Can you explain the reasoning for that?
Absolutely. I was literally out riding my bicycle with a few friends talking about some business ideas, and it just came to me that, oh my goodness, what we're trying to do in the book is cover from A to Z. So I said, how can we do that effectively? Well, of course, there are dozens or hundreds of subjects in business that one could write almost endlessly on, and there are many books that cover specific subjects. But we felt that if we could cover the entire spectrum, it would have to be from A to Z. And then in dealing with my advisory board, we literally sat down and said, well, the most important area of business, starting with A, is accounting, and B would be branding. When we got to S, it, of course, had to be strategy, etc. And the entire 26 chapters, the alphabet, if you will, unfolded from there. And once we decided on that, we said, well, in reality, we could write a book on each of these, and somehow I felt a 10,000-page book would not do terribly well in the marketplace. So I decided that for most people, if we could narrow a subject down to the 10 most important questions and their answers, it would allow anybody to be able to use this as a quick reference on a specific topic, but also really a backstop for what they do on a day-to-day basis, and it would always have value.
And how did you choose the chapter titles?
That was an interesting exercise. We actually went through a process similar to how we work with clients on process improvement. We started with some brainstorming. after we had laid out the alphabet, we literally sat down and tried to think of every important business subject that started with that letter. And then we sat down with different clients over a several-week period of time and laid out the alternatives and got their input and narrowed it down until we finalized on the 26. And I think no matter what 26 we would have chosen, many people are very happy, but there's always some people that say, well, did you consider? So in the next book, which will be the book on Business 3.0, I think we will actually come up with some of the alternative subjects that were equally important.
And can you talk about why the book and the chapters have so much value for supply chain managers?
That's a very important question. Thank you for asking it. Part of the reason is when I work with clients, when I talk to groups, when I work with members of the Institute for Supply Management, we're always focused on how can we optimize what we do. Part of every organization's vulnerability, our weak link, is our supply chain externally. And we'll talk about our internal supply chain separately. But no matter how much we improve our organization, no matter how well we plan, no matter how well we implement, no matter how well we measure, unless our entire supply chain is on the same page, we're really subject to the challenges of not only our external supply chain directly, our suppliers, but really our suppliers' suppliers. So I wanted to keep that in mind in everything we did in the book. And two of my co-authors, Lee Schwartz and Andy Pantanius, are really focused on the supply chain in their entire practice. So we have 4 chapters: operations, process, quality, and yield, that specifically address both the internal supply chain and the external supply chain. And then effectively, if you add strategy and a few of the other chapters, it is a perfect model for beginning an optimization of the supply chain, which I think is what's really sorely missing in a lot of organizations today.
And thank you for sharing your ideas and this new news about your book. And can you talk about real briefly how people who are interested in reading it, where can they get access?
Well, they absolutely can access at Amazon.com, of course. They can also get the book on our website, which is www.builditbackwards.com. They can also go to Smashwords, bnn.com, and iTunes.